Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hello Zafigo by Zafigo.com, where we talk about many issues, current issues, and especially those that are related to travel and tourism. So, welcome back. We're doing this monthly this year with all sorts of interesting guests. And this month is no exception. We have two very famous faces to talk to this month, and I'm sure you'll recognize them. So today we're going to talk about arts and culture and how it's been affected by the pandemic. Um, According to a study conducted by Tourism Malaysia, one of our country's biggest draws for tourists near and far is our rich culture and diversity. Okay, so far. Apart from historical, walking, and food tours, it is cultural events, traditional and modern arts, theatre, and film that are what attract visitors. In fact, both the arts and tourism industries are co-dependent on each other to survive. And of course, we're now in a situation where there is no tourism, not even domestic tourism. So how do these dependent industries survive in this time? So with us today are two people who are more than happy to discuss this because they've been greatly affected by the situation that we are in, and I'm sure you'll know both of them. We have Ngai Yuen, who is the
Hello.
president of Kakisani, filmmaker, founder of Women Girls. I've known Yuen now for what, 20 years at
Uh,
least?
at least
Yes.
25 now. Easily
Yes.
25. Yeah.
She's one of my original 3R girls.
Yay.
Yes. And we've seen her grow by leaps and bounds from those days when she used to interview people, act, and talk about different issues. Now you are doing all sorts of things, including running Kakisani, which is already 20 years old. It's an association that
Yes, it
champions the
is.
arts and its advocacy, as well as founding Women: Girls, which is another NGO dedicated to reminding women of their position as role models to younger girls to achieve their potential. And I know that one very well because you've invited me a couple of times to go and speak to young people about getting some ambition and ideas in their life. So today, Women Girls is known to drive change making among the young through the program Young Change Makers. And they're matched, their energy and ideas, young people's energy and ideas are matched to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I've seen since profile some 30 youth making various differences in the communities as role models. Excellent, excellent.
Fantastic.
Susan Lankester.
Go,
As an
Susan.
actress, producer, and director, and founder of Catwoman Productions and BWC Pictures Sundiran Berhad. What's BWC?
Big white cat. I'm
Oh,
a very
it's all
feline
about cats.
person. Oh, definitely.
Oh,
For
you're
sure.
a cat person. Okay. I'm sure, well, many of you will know Susan from film and TV because she's been on it. She's been part of the industry for over 30 years, acting in, directing, and producing English, Bahasa Malaysia, and Cantonese productions here and in Singapore. She's best known, I think, became a household name in 1983 when she was in the movie Mechanic.
Yes.
And I remember that. And then the sitcom 2+1, for which she won Comedian of the Year in 1993. And since then has been in numerous projects. And as a producer, worked with Gavin Yap on the 2014 indie film Take Me to Dinner, and produced a trilogy of shorts about, written, and directed by women for Seeing Eye Films.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. And now, 2018, you've joined the video on demand streaming media company viu.com. Is that still view.com?
View, yeah.
As their consultant head of production, to kickstart the original online content and has 7 titles under your belt to date.
Yeah.
So welcome both of you. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
No, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
No, it's great. I always enjoy these conversations. So today we're going to talk about something quite fraught, I guess. Today we heard that the lockdown, which was supposed to end tomorrow, is not ending tomorrow because we have not reached the magic number of 4,000 new cases. I remember we used to get really alarmed at 400 cases a day, and now 4,000 is progress.
Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? How perspectives have changed over the past year. Now, with all this lockdown, people not being able to go out, not being able to carry on with their jobs and everything, the arts must surely be affected. But I just want to, let's go back a bit and frame it. I mean, the tourism ministry says that that tourists come here, and by that I assume they mean foreign tourists, come here for our arts and culture. Now, I'm just wondering exactly what they mean by that. I mean, I can understand like everyday culture or going to see, shows or, even food as part of culture and all that. But I'm just wondering about the connection between tourism and our movies and our, performances and everything else. What do you reckon? Is that absolutely accurate? What the tourism ministry is saying?
I think it's a natural. It comes in a sentence naturally. Oh, tourism, arts and culture, therefore it's together. But in reality, the fact is, I'm really, really very far off. We see tourism as a real business, and in business, we're talking about anything that's scalable and repeatable. And arts and culture really isn't in that space. Arts and culture really is all about experiences. It's really about being a part of the local, seeing how the local is, living like the local, experiencing, visiting as a part of the local. So you go for plays that the locals watch, for example. You go to museums or galleries and get a good sense of why is being put up, a good sense of the narration of the country. But in this country, for tourism, we prefer to make it a lot more business than we do making sure that they have an experience. And also the way we're marketing tourism is kind of different. So even though it says Malaysia Truly Asia, and on all of our boards and any advertisement, you will see like dancing posts la, a lot of culture la. But when you arrive from Ikea all the way wherever la, you see the live bit is missing. You may see paintings, and that is at best missing from a lot of places. But apart from that, a lot are not a part of your visiting itinerary. You don't see visiting theaters or galleries as part of your must do. But you see going to KLCC, shopping dekat gallery, apa-apa dekat Jalan Bukit Bintang is a must do. Going to eat where, sure, that's part of culture, sure. But that's not the only thing that we can represent culture that we're so rich and really proud of. That is clearly missing. So that dot is not connected properly, to be honest.
Right. It's not like we go to London and we want to go see a play in the West End, right?
Yeah.
We book our play first. Yes, we book it
exactly
first before we even buy the plane ticket.
That's right. That's right. Sue, what do you say?
I still remember way back then when friends from overseas would come and visit Malaysia, and we had these amazing performances in restaurants where they would give you this array of food where you would actually taste food from each state and everything. And then there would be a wedding on stage and some dance thing or whatever, where the tourists then would be able to take part and immerse themselves in whatever that we have then. And I thought it was the cleverest way of actually just getting people really keen, because after that there were loads of pamphlets and there were people there that were, I can't remember the name of the restaurant. There were a couple of them around. And that was my go-to place when friends would say, oh, I want to come visit in Malaysia. I'm like, yeah. So I'll take them out for dinner. And it would be just a one-stop shop where they would literally just get full on immersed into what Malaysia is all about and the multicultural lifestyle that we have, the people, the who are Malaysians, etc., all there in one night. And then after that, they'd pick up these amazing pamphlets then and go, I want to go here, I want to go there. I'm like, okay, jump into the car, off we go. Malacca, Penang, but you land in Kuala Lumpur. This is our hub, and that's the place where everybody needs to go, boom, okay, you're here. This is what we have, this melting pot. Now go out and explore. Because I still remember way back then in 1990, the film Phenomena that had Amy Search and Ramona Rama and everything. That was shot in Terengganu. And it was gorgeous. And they had the Ulit Mayang music and that kind. I mean, you have this Amy Search and this long rock her hair and wah. But then it's in Terengganu and they're performing and you see the cultures and the how they dress, how they live there, the fishermen, and how they just were happy doing that. That's just one example. For me, I thought that was an excellent way to showcase what we have in the East Coast. And that film technically should be used to send it out there.
Exactly. It's like, I've noticed like the Turkish government or the Turkish tourism board, suddenly there was a whole slew of movies that were shot in Istanbul.
Yep.
And I thought, that's funny. Why do I keep, and suddenly I realized, oh, they're smart. They've been offering the whole city as a film set.
Yeah.
Because that's a way of advertising. And we could do that too if we only thought about it, right? But but tell me, in the pre-COVID days, in the good old days, which we might still remember, how were we doing? How were the arts? Whether it's performances of film and music and everything. How were we doing?
I think the unfortunate thing is that because tourism is a business, so they need a lot of certainties. So, for example, Mad Kuala Lumpur, the one that was in Panggung Madaraya, fantastic performance, a really good quality production, really good. I think space-wise, to the storytelling, to the meaningfulness of what they're trying to do is amazing. But getting tour guides and getting tour agencies to put that as a part of itinerary took them 5 years. And they can't put up with 5 years of overhead, 5 years of a lot of different things. And we're talking about the Sri Tiara, right? With so much resources, connections, and she works really hard. And if she can be flawed by how much she's doing and still not getting the message across to all the tour agents and tour companies, and because they do get, tour agents and tour companies do get more commission driving tour buses to buy chocolate in the middle of Imbi. That really has nothing to do with, so little to do with what Malaysia really is, or getting them to go buy some overnight DIY put together shop of jeruk, which is great. I have no issue with that, but they did not balance it. It doesn't come with stories of, how does jeruk, become something that is a part of the Malaysian lives, and different jeruk comes from different places, and what are the differences, and what are you buying, and why is this so special? Why would everybody wants to eat Malaysia jeruk? So this part of the storytelling is missing. And also because the arts and culture cannot provide, let's say, for example, a theater piece, it's really hard pressed to get anyone to be able to put on a show for 30 nights non-stop. And if you don't have 30 nights, it's very difficult for the tour agents or the tour guides themselves to sell. They cannot imagine, no, I must tell the people, what are they coming to see? You're not famous yet, very hard to sell. So it's all this, and a lot of times we are wondering about, well, I think it's about willpower. you just need to sell it like must watch, because everybody who comes to the country must be able to experience this. Our dances are like the basic for most dancers because of the way they lengkok lah. And it's how you story it, right? But nobody wants to take that willpower or that extra step, and it's very hard for artists to repeat whatever that they're doing because it's expensive. And because of that, very little of our shows are actually exposed to tourists coming in as part of the audience. Very little, hardly anywhere near 10%. Forget it, 10% is not even there. So we are only then therefore looking at the same pool of people and then growing domestic markets in terms of audience. So it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, and we do produce quality stuff, I've seen some really good. I saw Mud, and it was so sad that sometimes, so few people there, but they still give their all.
Of course, that's part of the spirit.
It's
and also our hotels at the lobby, we don't have. It's not natural to have Malaysian performances, which I always thought, what? Why? We will have. I mean, it's great. They are great singers, Filipino singers, amazing voice. Yes, but we need to have. These are opportunities for us to showcase, what we have and give jobs to Malaysians. And even that, like basic, we're not doing. Yes, maybe you need the government to tell you must do it. No, I tarik your license. But we don't have to go that far, to be honest. I mean, everybody needs to like, if I sell this well and I make sure that, say, for example, the people at the reception kept saying, oh, do you have plans already this evening? If you don't have plans, do you want to check out this amazing theater that's happening here? No, they should do that. That's not even right. I think that's such a missed opportunity.
So is it a marketing problem, Susan? I mean, and who's supposed to do it?
I just think we are extremely happy. We're not shaken like COVID now. We're already making money. So why go and do difficult things? And we're not competitive like in other countries where they know arts and culture. You want to bring people back? Okay, this is the only way, because this is the differentiating point. We are like, oh, we're happy. We're not enough people from China, people from other countries. So many people tak naik bus, tak sempat naik bus pun nak datang to Malaysia. That sort of mentality. So that's a huge problem. And of course, artists will be like, no lah, it won't work lah. We try and tell them already. How many times did you try it? One time. Okay, so nobody then, go on this, because so it's two things. But I also feel that the powers to be has a lot more responsibilities to connect these dots. Because look, you want the artists to go and sell themselves, it's hard.
Exactly. So that was the situation in the pre-pandemic time. So what is it like now? Susan, do you want to talk about how it's been affecting the film industry?
To be honest, before pandemic, we were doing okay. Could be better, to be honest, but we were doing okay. I mean, people were working, there was funding, grants being given, and those who could afford it would, go and speak to the platforms and get series churned out, etc. But last year, because of the pandemic, because we are deemed non-essential, that we could only start shooting in September. So you can imagine that mass, the minute it's like, oh, but let's start shooting, jom. So whatever that we had put pause, put our finger on and gone pause, now we have to restart all over again. But production funds are all gone, right? So how do you do this? So you sign contracts and people are already like, okay, I've already taken my upfront money, so okay, bite the bullet, we still got to do this and complete. So you get those who are doing halfway houses and they pick it up and they continue doing that, which at the end of the day, we're all happy to do the work because we're very much physical. I can find that the arts industry, including film and television, etc., we're very close. We need to have this interaction. That's why we don't do well with all this kind of computer stuff, because constantly on set, every day you've got at least 50 people on set, whatever their job is, and we're all interacting and sitting down and talking, irrelevant of social distancing or whatever. but we're making something happen. You know, we're putting a recipe together to see this amazing cake that's going to come out, this product. But what I feel that they don't understand is if we put all of us together in the creative industry, including commercials, you name it, you know, music or whatever, we are so vital to this industry, and we do make money, you know. And now, especially with the pandemic, because can you imagine, it's September, we started shooting our Koga Bahadon series, and we managed to finish, and then there were still these SOPs, and money for the budget had already been given out to crew that was struggling already. Suddenly, like, oh, we've got to beg, borrow, and steal, because we've got all these SOPs to adhere to, daily spraying, sanitizing sets, and these shields and masks and whatnot, you know. And then there's problems about getting back the same locations, because people are paranoid, going, oh no, I'm not getting, you know, you're not allowed in. So then you sit there and brainstorm, going, how do we finish this scene off? You know, there's this headache constantly. So, but the thing is that the one thing I've noticed is that the OTT streaming platforms have been minting it during the pandemic, because they are just 24/7. Like, I'm just as bad as, like, who sleeps at normal hours now? You're just watching things just to really sort of get some kind of stimulation. And technically, they need us to make all of these shows.
Exactly. Yeah.
So why aren't we working?
Well, that brings into the question, that issue of, you know, everything nowadays seems to be divided into essential and non-essential.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think, to me, I think arts and culture is part of essential services. If maybe not always in the most tangible way, but we need that. We need that for our soul. Can you all make a case for you know, the arts and culture as an essential service?
First and foremost, Marina, I think it is really too, how do you say this? Maybe a year ago, we can simplify it and say, yes, if you're essential, you should go ahead. But today, a year plus later, we shouldn't just have two groups, essential and non-essential. No, it is not just about that anymore. If the primary concern is really about, if you want to do your business, how do we make sure that you want to go about this in the most safe way as possible? That means there's almost next to zero opportunity for you to be a cluster. If you can propose to me that well, yes, then sure, we will give you the approval to go ahead and do it. But we don't even have this chance. And I think that is the problem. I think we should be looking into how do we become a little bit more innovative to support as many industry as possible. And of course, because we are talking about arts, culture, film, television, we will be talking about that very specifically here. But overall, I would say as many industries should open if they are able to put forth, you know, and to table how to do this in the safest way possible.
Agreed.
And for me, for film and television, it is really not. I think arts and culture have it a little bit more difficult because we still need audience, and we're talking about physical audience, and it's really difficult to bring in physical audience into a space where everyone's minds are really about, is it safe yet? Can we come out now? And we're in lockdown. Yes, I understand. So then let's reimagine arts and culture in a complete different manner. As long as people are still working, as long as they're still being paid, as long as they're on projects, for example, minimally, we get to make sure nobody is left behind. Everyone is sustaining themselves. Everyone gets to eat, right? Yeah. So we're imagining this is a really good time, and we've put forth this in plenty of papers to the ministry to talk about how we can help strengthen the storytelling of Malaysia's arts and culture online. We can talk about how do we spread it to as many people as possible. And when you hit that, perhaps you can be paid, so that every single artist, all they need is that as long as they're working, as long as they're doing something, as long as they're telling a story, it can be in writing, it can be in drawing, it can be in, you know, a drama, it can be a Zoom, whatever platform you could think of. It doesn't matter. As long as you're working, the government is happy to support what you're doing. And not just support you monetarily, but also think about platforms that allow for what used to be the plugs of tourism and now given to artists. So I think tourism can now play its part properly to support arts and culture in the
Good
way
idea.
it can to build the country again, to make people feel like, oh, this is one country I must put in my bucket list. So that's
Right.
what we can do. But we're not even at this conversation, and that's where the frustration is.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that because you're not even at the table to have the conversation? Or
No,
what?
I think plenty of times I'm at the table. The difficulty is in getting them to understand or to even see this relationship properly between tourism, arts, and culture.
And yet the ministry is Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture.
Sure. But like I said, I don't think this is normal or common. And I think percent of the time, if not more, if not 100% of the time, our poor ministry is already filled with all the issues and problems coming from the tourism industry. Them not being able to start their hotels, spaces are empty. A lot of people have no jobs. Food, a lot of tourism companies have to close. But
Yeah.
I also think it's not just tourism that's affected, but a lot of other industry are taking the innovative approach to look at it like, okay, how do we perhaps streamline a lot of things so that it can be more efficient when we do open? So those conversations are a bit missing. Everybody now is just thinking about asking for rebates, asking for moratorium, asking for tax exemptions for hotels, for this, for that, or even asking for, hey, why don't you support people who work in the tourism industry, for example, with just pure money, instead of talking about how do we make sure that the industry can start to build on ideas that can gain us traction the moment we open. So this is not happening enough. And because of all these problems that the ministry is having, another voice from arts and culture that is very difficult to understand, and also because we've never had a real working relationship with them. We're just the music band in the hotel. So that is very unfortunate, and that is, and we don't have enough examples in the world that really showcases how arts and culture work really well with tourism. A lot of cases when it comes to tourism promoting arts and culture, it is really about, because the country itself understand how this is intangible and how this need to be, no question about it. And therefore, so there wasn't very many writings about how it needs to work together. It's just understood as it just needs to be. Yes, it just is. So because of that, I'm always challenged, Yuen, you must give us proof lah. Give us bukti. Where in this world things like this
happen? Evidence. For that, they want evidence.
Correct. And we're like, okay, we find you evidence. Pastu bila dah bagi, they're like, so, okay, I understand now. But how does this work in Malaysia though? Does that mean we have to make sure the tour agency and tour guides also understand and be a part of this? Or maybe the arts and culture industry, can you all go and apply for the tour guide's license?
Oh dear.
But it's the beginning of a conversation, right? It's the beginning of the conversation, and it's an important conversation. It's just that it's never ending.
Listening. Yeah. Just like the pandemic seems to be never ending. Susan,
yes.
In the industries you work with, which is film or commercials and all that, how is that? Yuen is talking about performances and all that. How does I've noticed that on Netflix there are several TV series that have had to stop, American ones that had to stop because of the pandemic. But some of them have been coming back, and they're actually addressing the issue. The situation, which is amazing. I'm sure they are doing everything they can to film safely and all that. Is that something that you think is possible here too? And how,
to film safely?
Yeah, to film safely. Do you? Yeah.
I've been in the situation where I've seen how our producers have made sure that wherever we step into, all of us are protected. And that's where budgets go overboard, and hopefully streaming channels that are providing the budgets, hopefully they're also maybe helping out the producers with that as well, because at the end of the day, we all depend on each other. So
Right.
I totally believe that if we can actually just get it together and all production companies agree to make it a safe space wherever we go. The only thing is that it's convincing people who lease out location venues to us, especially the larger ones. They are a bit nervous, and quite rightly so, because you can never tell. Like, and every day we're swabbing, you know, these things going up our noses and stuff like that. It's not fun, but we need to do it so that we
Yeah.
can continue doing whatever it is that we want to do. And the other part that makes us concerned as well is because it's like, okay, can work now, but we don't know 3 months down the line, so whack, just whack. So there are cases where they just whack the shoot, they just do it, and then it's half-assed kind of quality.
Right, exactly.
Which is the concern as well, because technically we've got really, really good directors, really awesome writers and everything. And of course, that's another story because of storylines, but let's not go there. But we have the people in the industry to make incredible films. We do. It's just, I think, going back to what Ngai was going on about the tourism and the tourism industry and trying to work with us, arts and crafts. I was just thinking, like, do you remember Lord of the Rings way back then? And New Zealand? And they had the sets, and the sets are still there. And people go just for that.
Right.
You know, I was just like, well, we did Putri Gunung Ledang. That was a beautiful film. And that was what, Perak, you know, some parts of sort of middle, it was middle country, wasn't it? Perak and the other places. And again, it was all about our beautiful culture and our the outfits and the language and everything. And that was if you ask me, that was a walking ad as well. You know, all the journey, Jagat is all about Malaysian Indians, and it was shot beautifully, you know. And we've actually got stuff that can actually go out there. And why doesn't the tourism board, I mean, I may call them the wrong thing, but why don't they sit and work together with, I don't know, KKMM, Finas or something, and use a film or something and to promote Malaysia and actually take it out and go into film festivals overseas and go, besides being an incredible story, this is what we look like. I don't know. It's just keep thinking of new ways of commercializing the country in a positive manner, you know, because there's so many.
This is the era of innovation, right?
Yeah.
I was actually quite pleased. I don't know whether you saw it, but one of the PPVs, one of the vaccine centers, has decided to employ musicians to entertain people while they're waiting. Isn't that brilliant?
Wow, that's brilliant.
It's simple. It is this. Some of the best ideas are simple, right?
Yeah.
But that follows after a widely circulated short clip of how they do it in Singapore and other countries, and they actually have live performances. So that's when, I think, if I'm not wrong, Tan Sri Jamila was then talking about how we needed to, and voila.
And so, you know, it's the human touch, really, isn't it? You know, people go to these places to get their jabs, and some are nervous and everything, and anything to make it more pleasant would be great, besides, you know, taking a photograph and all that. So if that came from other countries, do you know of any other great ideas that we could copy lah, you know, since we, you know, think of that we can use, you know, for our situation, that gives employment, that, you know, entertains people as well? Are there any
we should do like short film commercials about Malaysia. So it's not boring, but it's actually a little story, but it's all about the country and its people. And short films, like, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, and those go out. Commercials are too short because it becomes too pretty. And it's just like, you know, la 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 la, okay, done. La la la, visit Malaysia. As opposed to, this is a story about a family, and this is what they go about it, but it's shot in a beautifully commercial way where, you know what it's like. Like, I miss the beach and stuff, and whenever I go there, you just sit there and you look at our natural resources, our wherever we go, even, you know, driving to Ipoh and the amazing mountains and everything, and in the King, come on, you know, international movies have come here and shot in Malaysia, but there should have been something then. Maybe now, this is what the pandemic's telling us to do, that now the pandemic is showing that the arts, culture, film, television are essential. And then we can push tourism by doing what we do so well.
Right. But in other countries, they are subsidizing the arts and you know, theaters and things like that. Is that a workable, theater companies and actual theaters and, you know, all that? Is that a workable thing that, you know, I mean, have you all been getting anything? Has there been any money?
Nada.
Okay, there are, but not enough for it to be sustainable. Persatuan Kaki Seni, we were given 500 ringgit from
how much?
500 ringgit.
You're not saying 500,000, right? You're saying 500
ringgit.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I also want to give you maybe a larger picture of what's happening here. There are 1,000 plus NGOs set up by the arts and culture, the various groups across the country. And they have been receiving funds from the government ever since the beginning of time. So the only way you can receive funding is if you set up an NGO. And that wasn't why Kaki Seni was built as an NGO, to be honest. We didn't know that. We only found out like last year that that's how it's actually done. And so these are called Badan Bukan Kerajaan. So by Badan Bukan Kerajaan, they're actually supporting artists as much or as many as possible. And these are the dancers from, say, Perlis or Kelantan or all these countries. I mean, all these different states. And then they come together, maybe 5 of them will form one NGO, for example. And there are 5 names, or some of them can form a national persatuan, and that could be 7 to 11 people from various different states, for example. And then when they do get grants, then they just share amongst themselves. But I want to say from the beginning of time also, this is not even a sustainable model. So the subsidy, that the way our country has been dishing out, hasn't been in a format that is sustainable to
it's not
the
for
creation.
development.
Yes, correct. It doesn't help in more things being built, more things being created. It doesn't help in pushing the way arts and culture needs to be pushed to the next level. So that hasn't been happening. So then to expect this to suddenly happen overnight because of the pandemic is really not possible. It's quite difficult. So for them, even if they are to start now to look at, okay, right, all right, let's give some money out. It's difficult to even identify how do we even begin to give this money out, and to where and to who, and what should be the impact to be studied, etc., etc. All these are questions. We can give them many papers, and so do many other associations also give them papers, Cendana, My Creative Ventures, but all with very different needs that they have to that you will have to fulfill before you even get the grants, for example. So while I understand everyone is trying as hard as possible, but we're not fast enough, and we are losing a lot of artists. A lot of our artists are now working as something else, and chances of them returning to become artists would be next to nil, really, because they've learned that this is really not going to help me at all. And if I want to start a family, no way would anyone marry me because I am not going to promise certainties, and that's not something that anybody wants. So it's very unfortunate. So we lose really good people.
To everyone watching, sorry, were you going to say something, Susan?
No, I was just going to jump onto that as well. I'm just saying that, you know, our crew now, this present moment, have all turned to doing food deliveries. I mean, cooking at home, and you know, we all support them, and that's the only way that they can survive. And I'm looking at really creative people going like, this is not supposed to happen like this, but you just got to survive and the fact that they get paid per project. It's not like, I mean, I've been a freelancer for all my life, Marina, and the fact that when I did work for View then, having a monthly salary was like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, I can actually just save, you know, and do things with that money, which I did. And actually, to be honest, part of that savings is keeping me afloat at this present moment of time, because I don't have work. But besides that, it's just, trying to help your fellow man, people that are your juniors, because you know that they're the next step that are going to be in our industry and going hopefully bring up the industry. And the fact that they're just doing whatever they can just to survive. I'm sharing it with everybody that I know. It's like, please buy the Kambing gearbox, please buy the Laksa Johor, whatever. Just help them because
Yeah.
we can't let them suffer. It's yeah.
Yeah. So to everyone who's watching, we're having a very, very rich discussion here on how the arts and culture and everything is being impacted by the COVID pandemic. So if you have any questions, those of you on Zoom, please put it on the chat. And those of you watching on Facebook, please put it in the comments, and we'll try and get our two guests, Ngai, Yuen and Susan, to answer them for you. There's one question on from Liana Kairuddin, who reminded us that Crazy Rich Asians was also filmed here, and we got no credit for it. Everyone thinks it happened in Singapore, which is like, oh my god, talk about missed opportunities. But Liana's question is, don't you think the real issue is the need by authorities to control the narrative for the arts rather than allow artists to tell authentic stories?
That's it, like different day conversation. But in
Yes,
short, but in short, to be really honest, I do think that personally, I do think that no lah.
That's the least articulate you've been all afternoon.
Yeah, I was like, what? You see, we have LPS.
Yeah.
And
that's for film and television.
Yeah,
I mean, so for the arts and culture, is the police who will come suddenly, who will sit in the audience.
BPKL, right? That lot.
So I guess it's very much kalau kena complain, then orang datang lah. Kalau tak complain, quiet-quiet je, okay je. Sebab kita ni belum besar lagi, so you know.
Yeah, but the thing is that what is it that they're watching that they find so ridiculous or non-Malaysian or what? You see, that's the thing. Who are they to deem it incorrect?
Well, yeah, exactly.
But most of the time, they are only really responding to complaints.
Yeah, so, somebody
must have cucuk, and then therefore diorang kena buat paper, kena turun padang. That's really what it is, and it's where the complaints come from. That's actually my usual question of, is that the only way we want to safeguard, creative storytelling? Because you cannot be responding to every single complaint that comes your way. There must be some criteria lah. Tak boleh lah semua complaint datang pun you pergi turun. And then you go in like, oh sorry lah, ini bukan kita tau, ini ada orang complain ni. Sorry, kita kena tutup. Like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a waste of everyone's time, really, to... And the thing, I think that's one of the problems with this country. It just takes one person to complain.
Yep.
And then it becomes a big issue. Whereas, most people just don't care, have no issues, but that's not catered to only that one person. So I don't see any more questions right now. So let's just carry on talking. I thought of something just now, but now I've forgotten. But yeah, this whole, I think, stories, Malaysian stories, I think there's so many. I mean, coming from a writer's point of view, I just think that there's so much more that we can talk about, tell about, about real Malaysia, rather than just what is there for the touristic view of Malaysia. And also that we do have the talent. I mean, you look at the Oscars, you have a movie that was directed by a Chinese woman, that won it. I mean, and last year was a Korean film. Look at what Korea has done. Okay, let's talk about Korea.
Oh boy,
I'm sure you have opinions about this, but let's talk about Korea. What have they done in the past decade or so? Suddenly it's about films, It's about TV dramas. It's about music. It's nuts. I mean, everywhere, everyone's talking about that. How
It's about
come?
having ambitions. That's what it
Yes.
is. It's about
And
them
support.
realizing, yes, it's them realizing this needs to be long term,
Yep.
not 1 year, not 2, not 5, not 10, but long term, like 50 years,
Yeah.
right? Like where we want to be, what is our milestone in 10 years, 20 years,
Yeah.
and they need, and it's passed on. Nobody
Yeah.
can change that. Nobody come into office and say, oh, sekarang ni my office ya. Okay lah, baiklah kita tukar. Dia bukan saya punya idea, I tukar ni idea. It's not about
Exactly.
that. It's really
Exactly.
about having the willpower to see this through for like half a decade.
Yeah.
If for
Yeah.
half a decade you say and do the same thing, plus you make sure you support, you put the money where your mouth is talking, then you get to see some results.
Yep.
That's what it's happening.
Yep.
They were
Yeah.
not successful from the very beginning. They were not successful from day
No,
one.
I mean,
They were trying so hard again and again and again. They failed. It didn't
15
work.
years, I think.
Their stuff
Yeah.
since 1989.
Mm.
At every time it didn't work, they ask themselves questions again. Okay, how do we do this better? Not, hey, see, it didn't work. Cancel. It's not that. It's how do we fix this and make it better? Because you've learned something already. To cancel it means that you've learned nothing. Means that everything is gone to waste. But if you've gotten something from that, make it better, then voila, whatever that's happened, which was a mistake, gets pushed forward as an improvement. And you move forward like that. And after some 30 years, there, you've got Parasite.
Yeah. Oh.
Exactly. But I mean, it's so amazing because I'm just wondering, like, how did it get to be so international? I mean, young people, they watch the Korean dramas and they want to go to Korea to go and see all these places. There are tours that are related to these soap operas, right?
Yes.
Like this, where this is filmed, this, where this. I mean, gosh, they had that for Sex and the City too in New York. You can go and look at the locations.
Yes.
And that's a tourism thing.
Yeah.
And people want to learn Korean, and you don't even understand language, but there you are, dancing on TikTok to BTS, and it's just an incredible phenomenon. And but yet it remains quite Korean. It's very international, but it's also Korean. Do you think that that's something? Is that something that we can do, like be very international and be Malaysian?
Okay, there are a couple of things, right? And they all happen mostly at the same time, but also the drive, the need, or the drive, the motivation of wanting to be good, better than yesterday. So you have the film and television support. You have people who are about, okay, let's go to different countries and tell all the different network stations, I'm going to give you free content. Can you just play it on air, please? Oh, now it's getting good. Oh, can we start our own channel? How about a Korean channel? I will give you free content too. And then slowly change that model. Then at the same time, there is another group of people working parallel that's talking about content. Okay, this content worldwide now is like this. Korean is like this. How do we bridge the gap? How do we look at, is there any gap? What can we create our own thing? Can we create how we're shooting stuff our own ways? So for example, from Asia, for the longest time, Hong Kong is dominating, right? We're seeing Hong Kong TV stuff as like the TVB stuff, like every day you're makaning, you're watching Hong Kong TVB stuff, the Cantonese version of all the soaps and all the dramas, right? And then suddenly, overnight, ping, it became Korean. And it not just became Korean because Korean stories, it also just suddenly look at the way Korean is shooting drama series so differently. Their angles are different, the way their lighting is different, the way they do long shot, two flirt like two dots like that, but long shot like Yasmin Ahmad's time, long shot. And those scenes again and again and again and again. And now is the thing. Before this is like, hey, the cut like salah cut ni. Tiga cakap ni, close up, tiba-tiba long shot. Tak faham lah, go back. They cannot accept. But then slowly it became a thing. Now everyone is like, oh, can we shoot like Korean drama? There's no thing as Korean drama. But they made it a thing. Slowly but surely. And then there is another layer where they're talking just about talent development. Where talent development is just about, okay, you want to be a star? You start at 14 and you start working so hard that by the time you are 18 or 17, if you cannot make it, if you're not selected, you are out. You have to be a triple threat. If you cannot sing, you cannot dance, you cannot act, forget it. You have to do all three. You have to play instruments. You have to be so good.
That's and you have to have a nice nose as well.
But there is a cost
That's
to
a
that,
different
yeah.
industry then, you
There
know.
is a cost to that though. That there is a dark side to all that pressure though. But still, yeah, there is someone who had that vision and they stick to it. There's some sort of master plan, right? And they stick to it without changing because it's different gang in, and
Yeah.
sort of thing. It's amazing. I think Korea, yeah, it's different from Japan, because Japan sells cars, sells electronics and everything, but they have not exported their entertainment.
Well, they
Not
only
very much.
exported one portion of the entertainment, the anime stuff.
Yeah.
All their anime stuff is huge in America, for example, and in Europe. But they are quite a phenomenon. Like the Ghibli studio stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
They're still the ones that's very much talked about. But it's just that. So they also understand. So now Japan, they pick and choose what they want. They don't necessarily want their Japanese drama to be the thing. Maybe they didn't think that's what the world needs. They want to be on top of what makes money. So what makes money? Animation, digital, gaming. That's what's making money. Let's go there. So see, they have plans too.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't understand it. We don't know it because we are like, oh, we are quite good too. We should, what do we should again? Jaga. No, look, Jaga is great. But in terms of in terms of pushing it out to the international arena, we really didn't do anything.
No.
The country didn't help.
No.
You know how much to expect a production house to push a film that they made which was good outside into the international arena. You cannot expect the production house to do it on their own. They cannot because it's not going to make money. They don't have that kind of money. It's crazy. You think this is good?
Me about it.
You take it. You push it out. You tell the rest of the world. See, we are damn good. See. You take all that. Sure.
We reclaim the glory when it's good.
Yeah, but
exactly. But
you
even then,
claim it with money. Put in the money.
Tell me about it, because when we did our documentary and it was submitted for the Oscars last year. First we had to please, and finally got it, and then we were left to do everything on our own. And the Oscars is a crazy race because you have to do so much to get people to watch it.
Yeah,
the right people to watch it and get
Yep.
attention. I mean,
the PR company, the people who are going to be pitching your show to everyone who matter, the right people.
Exactly, and to understand
it's a business. Yes,
the rules. It was. I learned a lot. I have to say, I learned a lot from that experience, and I feel sorry for every single film that we happily throw out there and then drop. It's not possible for private companies, private film producers from here to just do it. Okay.
Absolutely. Bong Joon-ho, Parasite's director. He was supported every step of the way. Every step. Before Parasite was even made, he was already part of that group, who is watching film where, in which festival. He's already inside. And on top of that, they're still supporting his work, putting in money, giving him PR stuff, doing stunts, putting out distribution money. They're doing all that.
Yeah,
just so that one film can go as far as it can. So now they can say, okay, that's how it's done. Let's do another one. Let's try another one. Let's do another 5 more. Let's do 6 more. So they're going towards somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I just jump in quickly?
Yeah. Yes,
okay,
please.
so recently, Tan Chui Mui, is that her name? Won at the Shanghai Film Festival her Barbarian Invasion, that as a director, writer, producer, actress with Bront and Pete Chiu. So she won. So I'm thinking and she pretty much got herself into that film festival and got herself nominated, and obviously now the award is, and congratulations to all of them. My question now is okay, so now we can talk about this amazing person who won this award for this film that she produced, directed, and acted in, and it's Shanghai Film Festival is well known. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to help her and push her?
Chances are they will say, oh filem ini tak cukup kot, dasar kebudayaan dia tidak menepati semangat. So there will be that coming in. Those things
Yeah,
will
and then
also
I'm going to
come in.
stand there and quote my mechanic line, you know, because we're all Malaysians, so we all look like this.
Yeah.
There's no one particular look. We're all like this. I mean, Bron's in it, Pete's in it. She's in it. This, you know, there's this. We have, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's an Indian talent in there. So she's got the right cocktail mix of this is what we look like. This is what we are. Take it, take it. She's already got her foot in the door. Recognized, because Shanghai Film Festival is all over the world. People are coming in, and the fact that she did so well. Take this and make it something. Send it out there. And this is Malaysia.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Let's do something with this.
Yeah. No. Okay, there's some questions. There's one anonymous question about films. If you could pick just one film to encapsulate the spirit of Malaysia, which would it be? Is it the one that you just mentioned, or?
I can go way back.
I don't think we need to have a film that can say it needs to encapsulate Malaysia or whatever. I don't think films are made that way. I think films are made because the storyteller wants to tell a story, and you cannot tell the storyteller, it must have Malaysianness. What's that?
Yeah,
please lah.
exactly.
Suka hati lah.
Yeah.
Asalkan good story, suka hati lah.
Whoever answered that question, I'm just going to go way back to when I was very young and quote my mentor, Othman Hafsham, because he created Mechanic to represent Malaysians. The dialogue, the situations, the scenarios, everything is day-to-day life of who we are then and still are. And I think that encapsulates Malaysia pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. And besides, why should there just be one story about Malaysia?
Exactly.
There's so many stories. Each of us have a different story. So, you know, and each of us encapsulates Malaysia, I think. Yep. So here's a question from Wayne Kong Wong, who sounds rather familiar to me.
Yes, that's Mr. Husband.
I didn't want to say lah, you know. Can we start with having good museums and galleries with substance? Don't see any long-term investments to compete in this area. See the Peranakan Museum and Southeast Asian Civilization Museum in some nearby country. And Sui also said Thailand has Mocha, Bangkok. And I think Jakarta also just got a contemporary art museum and things like that. How can we improve them? Is it government? Is it government's role or what?
Yeah, for museums and galleries, unfortunately, it has to be government.
Yeah.
Government first, they need to lead the way. And then if the ecosystem is then built properly, so for example, we're not just building one National Arts Gallery. With the National Arts Gallery, you need to build an ecosystem of buyers coming into the country enough to buy stuff from our country. That's when, because there are buyers coming in, because there are events to have buyers meet artists and etc., representative, for example, agencies, that's when it will flourish and grow. That's when you can, then other people will realize that, oh, so if I have a gallery now, I can also, you know, tap into the resources that National Arts Gallery has already formed, and therefore, okay, I can sell whoever that I'm representing, you know, the artists that I have, to overseas as well. If the Biennale. Yes, the Biennale is coming to pick our artists, for example. Don't you think Malaysia is going to be somewhere? But who is going to invite the Biennale's festival curator to come to Malaysia? It cannot be just one person. It needs to be the country. Malaysia is inviting you. This is our artist, and this is really good. This is the background. This is how we've been supporting. This is the kind of collectors that is been backing up our artists. What are you choosing? This G2G talk first. After the G2G, yes, then it will come down. The rest will be able to, you know, to come in and then build it to be bigger and stronger. But if we don't have the first conversation, how is that going to happen for everyone else? We can't just, hi, we are XYZ. Can you come to Malaysia and look at our artists? We have banyak artists. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I look at some of those big biennales, you know, even Venice and all that. And how some of our neighboring countries have their pavilions and all that, and I think we had one recently, but how much we pushed it, I tak tahu lah, and even never mind. I mean, literature is also part of arts and culture, right?
Absolutely.
There is this small international writers festival in Makassar in Indonesia, which is way out in East Indonesia in the islands. And they have a writers festival that has been, awarded by the London Book Fair as one of the best festivals around. And, it makes everyone go, Makassar? Where's that?
That's near
And-
Bira, right? Bira's near Makassar.
I don't know. All I know is Makassar is where people go if they want to go diving
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
go
yeah,
to the
yeah.
islands in Komodo. You go
Beautiful.
to Makassar first.
There you
Yeah.
go. That's tourism already.
Exactly, in another way.
Yeah,
In
yeah, yeah.
another way.
I mean, don't you think
like
GTF then, the Georgetown Festival then, was pretty cool then as well?
yes,
It's still very cool, and I hope it will still be, continuously supported non-stop.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be. It cannot just be people trying to do their best lah. We are already doing our best.
Yeah.
If you want to take it to the next level, we need money, and this money can only be supported by the government.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're a private corporation and you think you want to do this sustainably, good for you. Well done. I'll be mentioning your name every single day, I swear.
Tattoo it.
Yeah,
tattoo it. I do it, man.
Yeah.
But come do it. Someone with money needs to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of expanding one's view of the world, right? That everything is connected, that you can't, just be thinking in that little silo there, that, tourism is just people packing their bags and getting on a plane, going somewhere. That there is more to it than that.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really, what it's all about. And hopefully, I don't know, hopefully, someone's listening to this, and I think we have to keep our voices constantly pushing and pushing,
Absolutely.
for this. So, Yuen and Susan, this has been an incredibly rich conversation. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your insights and your inputs. And I really
I also, Marina, I just want to very quickly say, I kind of think that I definitely want to say for myself, but I think I can also say for Susan that we're not just complaining and saying things, that we're saying. We're also very much hard at work in making sure that it's getting better. I don't stop lobbying. I don't stop sending in papers. We don't stop engaging.
Yeah.
We think that tomorrow is going to be better, that it is going to come. But we just need to keep our voices up.
Yeah,
like you said.
I agree. Totally.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess we can't lose hope for sure. It's we need to look, as you say, look forward in time, for a time when things will pretty much, hopefully get normal, and hopefully it's a time for new things. Somebody, Daniel Zander. You've seen that. He's been here in Malaysia for 5 years. Thank you for watching us, Daniel. And it took me 2 years to get to know people who open the doors to arts and culture. Yeah, exactly. I've had, expat friends say, where do I go for, to watch something in theater or whatever? And I said, it's in the paper, isn't it? And I don't know whether it's real or because I know people. But anyway, I think we all have a job to do to promote arts and culture.
Yes.
In Malaysia.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you.
And thank you for everyone who's followed us this week. Oh, I'm supposed to ask you one last question, which is our usual sort of life question. If you could give our participants one piece of advice related to arts and culture, I guess, that you've experienced, what would it be? Or a message to.
Okay, I will start first. I think we're working on making sure that art spaces like theaters and stuff aren't closed. And it's really very difficult for them to maintain spaces Even just pure maintenance is already taking up a lot of money, especially when, physical audiences aren't possible. I really will suggest for as many of you as possible to go support this theatre. There are many in town, and buy tickets today for tomorrow. Tomorrow here could be next year, could be the year after next. You will be rewarded by wonderful shows, I can assure you. But buying early tickets now will help all these theatre spaces sustain for a little while. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Yuen. Susan?
Okay, for me, it'd probably be people who want to be in the industry because they think that being an actor, producer, director is, wow, they don't realize the amount of hard work. And I would always tell them is you always have to take that first step, because that next step that you take will take you into the new beginning. So don't be afraid to take that first step, whatever it is that you want to do, make that first move.
Absolutely. And with that, I think that's a very fitting close to our session today. Again, I want to thank Yuen. Oh, yeah, we are supposed to do a group photo. Thank you, Maggie, for reminding me. So can everyone, this is a tradition that we have, can everyone who's participating please switch on your videos so that we can have a group photo and someone will take.
I don't think Wayne is dressed for this. He probably has to comb his hair and change his shirt.
Comb hair, never mind lah,
Put on his shirt.
Neck up. It's only the neck up.
Yeah, shirtless would be
Where is he?
interesting.
Where is he, Wayne? Where is he?
Oh, Khalid, I like your background books. We're best friends.
Yeah. I must, don't you find a lot of people have books in the background, and I'm always like looking like that, trying to see what books.
Yeah.
Wow, look at Tertia's background.
Oh,
Paris. Oui.
She's our scrapbooker. She's our master scrapbooker. Oh, not scrapbooker, journaler. Sorry, what am I talking about? Okay, is that it? Are we ready? There's some people who are not putting on their videos. Okay. It's all right if you don't want to, but okay. Zin, are you?
Yeah, I'm taking. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, should be
great.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to look out for our next Hello Zafigo, which will be a month's time, on another exciting topic. And we'll have lots of really exciting conversations like this. So thank you again, and see you next time.